Come on in, girls. Come on in. I think one of the most important things about growing your own fruit and vegetables is that you grow them in your own garden with as many resources that come from as close to your garden as possible. Now, seeing as about 3/4 of us New Zealanders live within 10 kilometres of the coastline, then that means that most of us have got access to beach cast seaweed. Beach cast seaweed is basically seaweed that's been washed in on the tide. It fell off the rocks, it became disconnected from its holdfast and not so far away, just around these rocky outcrops either side of the beach here. And it's probably the most common seaweed that you're going to find on the beaches of New Zealand. The great thing about bull kelp is that it's packed with potassium and nitrogen. Now, those are really important nutrients for our gardens, and there are loads of different ways that we can use this. We can chuck it on our gardens fresh, or we can make it into liquid seaweed, and that's what we're going to do right now. Come on, guys. Now, on a beach the size of this, some mornings you'll turn up and there will be seaweed heaped up all the way along the high tide mark, and other mornings you turn up and there's very little. Most important of all is to only take what you need. This seaweed here was probably washed up yesterday. If we just turn this over, you're going to see that, look, all these sandhoppers, and there's loads of other organisms much smaller that are feeding off this seaweed. So the seaweed's a really important part of the coastal environment, which means that it's important we respect that. So just take what you need. Make sure there's always more left on the beach after you've collected. Come on then. Come on then. The great thing about seaweed is that you can use it in your garden straight away, the minute you get back home. You just empty it out and you can coil it around the base of trees and shrubs if you want them to get a good feed through the season. You can lay it on your beds as a mulching layer, put some soil on top of it to help it rot down. Another way that it's used is chopped up really small and dug into the soil with compost and pea straw when you're getting a bed ready for planting in, say, 3 or 4 weeks' time. But once the season gets going and you've got lots of plants producing fruit, they're really hungry, they're sucking on the soil, the best way of getting seaweed's nutrients to them is by making liquid seaweed. So liquid seaweed, 3 main ingredients. 1 is the seaweed, 2 is some tap water, and 3 is something to cook it in. So this is just a standard plastic rubbish bin. It cost about 10 or 15 bucks. And I reckon this is just the right amount of seaweed to fill this one up. Some people wash their seaweed and some people don't bother. Because we're in an area where we get lots of rainfall, I tend to think that salt gets washed through the beds, so I don't bother washing it. If you were in an area though, where it was pretty dry and you were using loads of seaweed, you might want to give it a rinse before you make your seaweed tea or before you put it on your beds. Right, that's just about the right amount now. We just got to add water. So that's enough water. Seaweed floats, so it is all going to crowd around the top of your drum, which is why it's really good to have a lid, and a lid that you can fix on. Now, the other reason you want to have a lid on this is because it does smell. So when you think about where you're going to put it, don't put it too close to any important rooms in the house. We've got it right by the kids' bedrooms, so that's going to be okay. Other thing is that this has now got 20 gallons of liquid in it and I can't move it. So put it somewhere where it can stay happily for about 3 months. After 3 months, the seaweed is going to rot down and you're going to have something like this. Once you bottle it up, it almost looks good enough to drink, but I don't think I will. The key thing about seaweed for our gardens is that it brings in potassium and nitrogen, but also it's packed full of carbohydrates and nutrients. Now, they actually feed the microbiology of our soil. So if you want healthy plants, you have to feed your soil. Liquid seaweed or seaweed in coils or seaweed chopped up is a really good way of feeding the family of your garden because it will ultimately come back and feed you.